I want to ask you about this this project. This blows my mind, and I love that this is happening. But you've directed a couple of sketches for this upcoming sketch series, History of the World Part 2.
Yes.
I saw History of the World Part 1 as a movie when it came out. I think
It was 1981.
Yeah, 1981. So I was a teenager.
This is 4 years before moving to Los Angeles.
That's right.
Okay.
I would have been, 81. I would have been 17 years old when that movie came out. And I was, huge, as I am to this day, huge Mel Brooks fan. And what amazes me, and I've had the opportunity to interview him a number of times, he is always funny, unfailingly funny.
Yes.
One of the few who I can say that about. And he is now, I think he's 96.
He's 96 years
and
old.
You're working with Mel Brooks on this project, which blows my mind. That's such a high honor.
It is a crazy thing. Like, I would say for me, over the years, I would say, SNL, obviously, the Music Man episode from The Simpsons, and those are my biggest two influences. Mm-hmm. But truly, I mean, SNL obviously big, but Mel Brooks, those movies, really for me, the Producers was my favorite movie from when I was like 13 for many, many, many years. But Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, History of the World Part 1, are hugely important to my comedy development, and I became. I've had a meeting with Mel at his office, and he gave me a box of Raisinets, and it was like the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. And
I love that. I wonder if that's.
I think he probably does it with everybody. I think
that's great.
I don't know, but meeting him alone was truly incredible, and then I got a call being like, Mel wants to do History of the World Part 2. He'd like to do it with you. And it's me and Ike Barinholtz and Dave Stassen, his writing partner, and Wanda Sykes. And then an incredible group of writers and performers are doing a series for Hulu based off of, using the movie as a template, which is like historical sketch.
Right.
And Mel narrates the show. And I got to work with him. I mean, I got to, he's so sharp and so funny. He's still got bits. There's like jokes throughout the show that are pitches that he still has. And it's really the most weird, like the craziest thing that for me, I think I've ever experienced.
I think, there's something that fascinates me about this generation, that generation of, comedian. And I'm thinking about, Carl Reiner, Mel Brooks, Norman Lear, Bob Newhart. There are all these people that live, Norman Lear is now 100. Mm-hmm. I think Carl Reiner almost made it to 100. Mm-hmm. And what blows my mind is when I've had the opportunity to be around any of these people, they are the funniest people in the room. Mm-hmm. And I always had this fear, and I'll admit this is ageist, but it's something you worry about in comedy is will you get less funny? Will your mind, will you be less amusing as you get older? Will you lose touch? And I think these guys are as funny as they've ever been. And I also believe it is part of why they're so sharp and they're around so long.
Yeah.
I think there's something about laughing every day and engaging with and being around people that make you laugh. That's some secret to longevity that no one's cracked yet.
I think, I guess it's the ones who were humorless died younger, as we can say that now, right?
Yes.
So
anyone who died young had no sense of humor.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, I'm Conan O'Brien with a terrible theory that's completely unproven. But James Dean, I didn't see a lot of people laughing.
By the way, genuinely not that funny.
Exactly. I keep watching Giant and I'm not laughing.
Although, have you seen the video of him and Paul Newman having a screen test?
Oh, was this part of the Paul Newman, Joanne Woodward documentary?
I don't know. I didn't see that, but it's worth. If again, there's a I'm not gonna. You guys know the website to go to.
Most of the things you're plugging, you're only tangentially involved with.
Yes. But it is. You see the chemistry between Paul Newman and James Dean, where you're like, they are gonna straight up fuck on camera right now. It's crazy. Watch it anyway.
Oh yeah.
At any time of day, alone probably.
Yeah.
So my point being that Mel Brooks is a legend.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that he stays sharp. When you see him, he's. I do think that continuing to have a sense of humor, finding people, and I think that in the case of Mel and Carl, they were friends. You know, like they were friends for 70 years and got together 3 nights a week and watched movies and being able and that is the dream. Like your dearest, most favorite people and friends and comedy in the world that you continue to get together and you continue to make each other laugh. And for me, being able to just have a moment, and he is still so funny. Like it was over Zoom, but we did a read through of a bunch of sketches with the network and a bunch of people, and Mel was there, and he goes, I liked the songs and I liked some of the reads. I was like, he's still just funny and negging every call, every time, and I just think he had an incredible palpable energy. I mean, it's also those guys, all those people that you named. I think are all World War II vets.
They are, yeah.
Which is crazy because you were in Vietnam, but you didn't. Did you serve?
I went to a hotel in Vietnam.
Okay.
I think now 2006.
Okay.
It was a layover.
Okay.
I was on my way to Aspen.
Okay.
It's a weird way to get to Aspen
but it was for the festival.
Yeah, and so I was wearing all ski stuff, really expensive, douchey ski stuff, and I just I stepped off the plane and checked into a hotel, and then got right out again. But I thought that gave me the right to say, I was in Nam.
I was in Nam. You don't know me.
But they all went through real stuff, and then also have seen. But Mel is also an example, as you were saying, of like when you go back and watch History of the World Part 1. He's sort of very much. It felt, to do a show about history right now is a tricky thing. A sketch show, comedically, of being like, how are we going to do this? But you realize on some level, Mel's style was always poking fun at the powerful and the rich and as like stupid and greedy. But he's never been very political.
Right.
So like it was actually not a. It was actually a very good template to start of like, how do we do all this right now, where you're like sort of, exposing like the real history, but also sort of never taking itself too seriously.
Yeah.
And Mel, when you go back and watch Mel's stuff, he's doing that so well.
I think it's important to remember, I got to interview in a long format Mel Brooks once, and he was telling me this story of he fought in World War II, and he was like on sentry duty, and he could hear the Germans across the river, and they were shouting insults at each other back and forth. And I'm talking, and you're thinking about, well, this is a famous Jewish American comedian, one of the greats of all time, who was there. He was. The Nazis were on the other side of the river, and he was in uniform. And you think about Norman Lear flying bomber missions. I mean, these guys were part of the most epic struggle against evil in the 20th century, and then also made some of the greatest comedy. It's I don't know. It's I can't get over it. But I can't, and it makes me ashamed of myself.
Face off against Mel Brooks in an insult war.
Yeah,
be like the V2 rocket. They
exactly.
don't even know what they're up against.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't. I think it's time you and I did something brave to defend our country.
Let's go to the Rhine River.
Let's go now.
Let's go now.
Let's go now, and we'll take one of those boats that floats slowly along the Rhine and serves delicious cheeses and wine. And say, Mel Brooks did it, and so I did it with Kroll.
Yeah.
Kroll and I, we went...
Well, I could be your enemy. I could be on one side of the river, and you could be on the other.
You could be having dry whites, and I could be having richer reds. Yeah. That's where we disagree.
You assholes in Lorraine, I'm over here in Alsace. Is that how they pronounce it? Did I pronounce it perfectly in the German French?
I think it's fine.
It's done. It's fine. It's
done.
We're
going to get some calls now.
Hello.
I love to say we get calls.
Yeah.
Why can't we just pretend we get calls?
We don't even have a phone.
Well, can't you just put in phone sound effects in the background sometimes?
Okay,
we're getting the calls are lighting up.
Yeah.
I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Just add calls to it, whatever you're going to do.
Hello, this is Hans from Alsace. I wanted to talk about first-time long time. I wanted to talk about.
Well, Hans, are you enjoying the show so far?
So far, it's okay. It's not my favorite episode. I listen to your podcast live every day. And you had Nick Kroll on today talking about Alsace. And
Did Nick Kroll pronounce it correctly?
yes, he did, but the Rhine River's not even close to Alsace all the way. Just wanted to mark that out for you so you know. Anyway.
Don't you love people that love to lord their knowledge? I live here and know.
No, it's not there.
Bob Newhart told me once in the original Bob Newhart show, it opens with him coming home from work. He leaves the office and he walks through the streets of Chicago, and then he gets on an elevated train, and then you see him get off the train, and then you see him walk, and he goes to the apartment and comes in, and Suzanne Plachette's there, and that's the opening of the show. And he said for years, people would come up to him who were from Chicago, and like, you know something, I gotta tell you something there, Bob. You get on the L, over by the Loop. It doesn't take you from there over. You're like, that it didn't actually work out. And I remember doing that I was at SNL as a writer, and we watched an episode of Spencer for Hire was just on TV, and the only reason I turned it on was someone told me our high school is in it, and they shot an episode where Robert Urich, is running through the high school to try and find a bomb, and I'm there watching it with the other writers, and I went, oh. You can't get from A wing to the cafeteria unless you take the north stairs. But they cut, and everyone looked over at me, and suddenly I realized that I was a horrible, horrible man and deserved to die. And
then you did that day.
I died that day, very young, proving once again I'm not funny.